So why don't we kick it off, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I will say, and I actually had a conversation with my mom. I will characterize myself as a Southern girl living my big city dreams. Okay. And then I'll tell you why I'm that. So having graduated and grown up in the South, Alabama, graduating from Auburn University, I grew up in the era of seeing representation, and the representation of people that went to college, left home, created this life for themselves outside of their hometown. And I'm referencing like the different world. And from that, I felt like in Alabama, right? So I decided that I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, meet different people. I decided as soon as I graduated from college that I would go down into Miami, work for the Florida Panthers, which I know we'll talk about here shortly.
Yep.
So that's me a little bit personally. Professionally, I do work for the NBA Marketing and Business Operations Group, which is known as TMBO. I am a workaholic, but a recovering workaholic.
Okay.
I am a control freak, but I am a reformed control freak. And I will tell you that COVID has pushed me through all of that, right? I think we joked a little bit about this, but living with my in-laws, I have discovered that there is a perspective that is one in which sets back, one in which doesn't work so much, one in which just always being present. So I am professionally a workaholic, but I'm working. And again, as we mentioned at the top, I am super passionate about my role at the NBA. I love working for the NBA. Sorry for the phone ringing there. But yeah, that's.
Well, I have to say that one of our mutual colleagues, Travis, is watching.
Hey, Travis.
So, Travis, thanks for joining. So, tell us, so you moved to Miami, started with the Panthers. What was that experience like?
Well, I will tell you, I went down to Miami armed with my master's degree in hand, just knew I was going to take on the world, starting in entry-level sales with the Florida Panthers, what's known as inside sales in our world, making $7.05 an hour. So imagine having that conversation with your parents. You got a master's degree, and then you go work for minimum wage, essentially. But I did start in the sales world, working at the very bottom, trying to work my way up to the top. Didn't know what that meant exactly, but with commission, I was able to eat and live down in one of the most expensive places in the country in South Florida. But yeah, that's where I started my career on the sales side, which was, I will tell you that I learned as much about myself and what I was good at and leveraged my skill set to be successful in sales, but I also learned what I wasn't good at, which I think is as valuable, if not more valuable.
Exactly. So you went from the tip of the U.S. all the way to the West Coast. So tell us about going to work for the 49ers.
Yeah, so the 49ers was interesting, and I had a stop in between with the Pittsburgh Pirates, another iconic franchise in baseball. Having the opportunity to work for yet another one with the 49ers and being able to open up Levi's Stadium and work with that group, which at the time was legends running that project. Can't say enough good things about my experience there. Again, I am one that tries to learn from not only the successes, but also kind of the failures and the hard times. And Levi's Stadium 49ers project was one in which it was stressful. Like, not gonna lie, opening up a stadium and opening it up that was different from San Francisco, all the kind of challenges that came with that to make sure it maintained the brand and yet you make your fan base was challenging, but I also learned a lot about myself as a leader, right? I think with that group that helped us build Levi's Stadium, we were in it together, right? As stressful as it was for me, it was stressful for them. And we kind of had that camaraderie to build around, which was awesome. So I wouldn't trade that for the world, as much as probably the gray hairs that you see, a lot of that came from the 49ers. But yeah, it was an opportunity.
Yeah, and what was your role at the 49ers?
So I started there as director of membership services. So what that is creating the membership program for the Niners. And just to give you a peek behind the curtains, before we got there, each service rep, and you know this from the business, each service rep had 5,000, anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 accounts per rep, which is almost unheard of, right? How do you give a high level of service to 5,000 people? So what we tried to do was go in and recreate the model a little bit to maybe hone in on the, won't say more valuable clients, those that require that one-to-one partnership and relationship, and recreate how. So when you think about inside sales, and we talked about this earlier, inside sales is, we created an inside service department that was that entry level service rep, that was that quick answers. Who are our fans that just want quick answers? And how can we make learn a service approach around them to build a model that makes more sense? So our premium service reps could have that one-to-one with the premium members that wasn't 5,000, instead it was 4 to 5. So that was my role at the Niners.
Wow. And it's amazing. I mean, because you think, we said earlier, we think that Miami's expensive, but then you go to San Francisco, it's just like $7 for a cup of coffee. It's just like
it is. And I've been fortunate enough to live in probably 3 of the most expensive places in the country: South Florida, San Francisco, and New York. Right? Like I think. Yeah. Living down here in Florida, you definitely get the change that not everything is as expensive as we're used to, for sure.
Right. No, for sure. So, and based on your experience, right, you started off in sales, and I want to talk a little bit about, your role now at the NBA, because I think that the group that you work with within the NBA, TMBO, Team Marketing and Business Operations, is so critical to the success of all of those, all of the teams, and not all the leagues. Since you've worked at the NHL, with the Panthers, you worked Major League Baseball with the Pirates, and the NFL with the 49ers. Share with us how you got to your role today and how sales and marketing need to work lock in step for the success of the team.
Absolutely. Well, I got to TMBO because I talk a little bit about the Pirates, but at the Pirates, I learned more about what TMBO was. And I did that because Lou DePauli, who you probably know,
Lou,
employee number 2 or 3 or whatever he claimed his fame is there with TMBO, but he was letting me know that there's this organization within the NBA that solely focuses on making sure the business grows, right? Making sure our team business grows. And having not seen that in baseball or NHL, and it didn't exist in the NFL, I thought that was super intriguing, right? To be able to get out of the silo of sales and learn across the business, which is what TMBO does. I set my sights on, okay, I want to learn more, do that. So after you're at the Niners, or during my tenure, really got kind of stuck in ticket sales. And I eventually want to be a team president by X age, and I'm not going to necessarily do that where I am right now. So how can I learn more about the business? And having, friends that work at TMBO and former colleagues that went to TMBO, I had an opportunity to go to TMBO and have the opportunity to learn from some of the smartest people in the business. So that's how I got. I mean, there's a little bit more details than there, but definitely I set my sight on that early in my career.
Yeah.
I happened to have the opportunity to be a G League and a W account manager within TMBO, which, as you know, does the same work as the NBA account managers, but gets across the business as well. So to your question about sales and marketing and how it has to be interlocked, and especially as it relates to selling tickets, I'll tell you a quick story. When I first started in inside sales, I got literally printed out spreadsheets of people who had come to a game once or twice, right? And you call those people and you hope that they are interested enough to talk to you, even get to a conversation about buying more tickets. With the creation of and more collaboration with market and the increase in leveraging email campaigns, social media campaigns, data warehousing, CRM, all the great work that marketing not only find the fans, but make sure they're warm, they're nurtured in your sales process, right? So what I wish I had back then in my sales leadership days was that more collaboration with marketing, because you guys are the ones that know who fans are. You market, you can market, you can retarget, and that demographic that we really want to hone in on that will buy our tickets are the ones that trust me, that real reps want to talk to. We don't want to cold call, the average fan that has no idea what our brand is and or maybe not want to do business with us. We want to be more efficient in our process. I will say wholeheartedly that I can't see a world that exists where marketing and sales are not interlocked and connected and collaborating, and that world be one in which the process is efficient and successful, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a really great insight just in terms of from your experience, because I think that that's one of the things that, sitting on the marketing side, working closely with sales groups, it's always really important for us as marketers to understand what the sales group is chasing and what that means to the bottom line overall, the team, but also how to pull every single lever that matters within the organization that isn't going to cost money to get to drive sales and also to put warm leads in the hands of the sellers. So,
absolutely. And sales used to go out and buy leads, right?
Yes.
And there's still part of that, right? That happens where you buy lists and things like that. But I just remember I think it's called shooting fish in the barrel is the cliche, but literally trying to figure out who of these leads are going to buy from us when there's really no clear indicator, right? That are who we necessarily want to target either, right? So definitely not agree more that marketing's role not only is building a brand, but committing to driving revenue and doing so by collaborating.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a question from one of our audience members that says, did you bring your quote board to each new place?
Did I bring my quote board to
each new place? Yeah.
My quote board. Are they saying like inspiring quotes? Is that what they were referring to?
I think that's what they mean. Yeah, that's what it says. Did you bring your quote board to each new place? Do you have a quote board? An inspirational quote board?
I don't have a quote board.
Okay.
That's actually a good thing to probably implement. And we all have these quotes in our mind that we probably should write down somewhere as part of our vision and as part of one thing that keeps us straight. But that's a good question. No, I don't have a quote board, but maybe I want to implement.
Well, there's a follow-up. I think it's a he because I think it's Brett. Quote of the week.
What's my quote of the week?
No, he's saying your quote. Do you have a quote of the week board, maybe?
Brett, I do not have a quote of the week board, but there are quotes that I go time and time again. One of which is "The beauty is in the word," and that's from Valerie Jarrett, who's former senior advisor for President Barack Obama, who has used that that your life is not always on a straight path. Right? As much as we want it to be, and as much as we might say we want to be here, reference being president by a certain age.
Yeah.
I learned using the swerve, and Valerie Jarrett was a huge part in creating that quote for me, so I could say, right, enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And as we look at, right now we're in this awkward place because of this global pandemic. And from where you're sitting and based on all of your experience, what do you think are going to be the major changes that sports teams and leagues face post the global pandemic?
That's a great question. And I did see that Brett mentioned that I did have a quote of the week board early on, and I'll hit on that later because I now remember what he's talking about. Okay. So how sports and how our business is going to change, I think it's going to be a little bit of a blessing and a curse, right? The pandemic, we all know, has taken numerous lives, somewhat unnecessarily. But I think what we're learning through sports is that now is the time potentially to not stop your business, but instead try to use an opportunity to grow and to innovate, right? So as an example, mobile ticketing, which, you know, from your days was kind of an early adopter. Like if you had mobile ticketing, you were an early adopter. Whereas now when we think about contact, we think about cashless, we think about all the things that can accelerate our business, not necessarily and not only because it's going to improve the fan experience, but because it's also going to get us that marketing information and that data that we need on who's coming to our buildings and how can we make sure that we're providing them with a personalized customer journey, how we can make sure that we are looking at them as an individual and not painting a broad brush. So while I do think that it's been a trying time for not only sports business, but also all businesses, I do think it will allow us an opportunity to take a step back and say where we really want our business to grow. So hopefully the next 100 years, we won't have another pandemic. But
Right.
if there is another obstacle like this, we say we're more prepared because we did the step right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think I'll take that one step further if that's okay. I just think that the innovation, and specifically for the NBA, because I mean, you guys are such innovators and forward thinking that I just think that it's going to accelerate everything that's been on the pipeline, not only from the league level, but also from the team level. We have another question that says, is TMBO helping teams with digital sales?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And by helping, we are about best practice and next practice sharing, but we also try to leverage data. We try to leverage any insights that we can to help our team better sell digitally. So we do have to do that. And it's more so, again, going team by team and understanding what a team's capabilities are and also how they can leverage those capabilities, not only through branded content, but also through the content that they're producing specifically. So, yes.
And I think back to my days when I was, on the team side, I just remember monetizing content was like the biggest thing, that the code that everyone was trying to crack. So I'm hopeful that, soon, everyone's going to be able to leverage the branded content within their vertical as well. So you've had an amazing career. You've had a great experience. I cannot wait for you to become team president one day. So share with us, what would be your 3 career insights that you would share with our audience today?
Sure. The first one is really determine what you want out of your life. And I say that because typically we do a good job of determining what we want out of our education if we go to college, or determine what we want out of our career. The truth is, those pieces of your overall life, and it took me a little while to understand that I probably look at my life holistically and not just pinpoint what I think matters in each vertical. So look holistically at your life. And as I mentioned with Barrett, find the beauty in the curve. Because as we all know, plans, my mom always said, if you want God, like plan and tell him your plan. Because the truth is that it really is in the swerve. And I've learned so much about my path to where I am. More so, again, as I mentioned, that I'm good at certain things, but also not good at those things. And what do I want to improve on? And I wouldn't have learned that if everything went my way, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, especially for women listening, once you know what you want, go after it unapologetically. Don't apologize for wanting to be team president. Don't apologize for wanting to be more than maybe what you of yourself representation standpoint. And get a support system that rallies around you, that not only supports you and tells you to go after, but also counsels you along the way when you make a misstep, and that can call you out, right? So you'll find always people that say yes to you, right? And do the things that are necessary to develop your skills. When your time is called to be ready, you're ready. And then the last thing I'll say is don't settle, right? Once you've figured out all those things in life, don't settle for anything less than what you want. Because again, if this is the path that you want for your life, go after it like it's your job, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I'll use, as sad as it is, the recent passing of Chadwick Boseman, right? When you think about all the work that he did leading up to his death, right? It's so inspiring. As much as it is sad, it's so inspiring to see that he saw exactly what he wanted, created this amazing character as Black Panther that has resonated out and will resonate throughout generations. And, I use that as an example to maybe take a step back and think about what you want out of your life and go after it.
Yeah, I love it. And the last question is, what is your superpower?
Whew, superpower. I will say, I think I am the calm in a storm. And by that, I mean, I try to be that level set for people in my life, whether it's family or friends. If you need a sounding board, I can be that sounding board. If you need to just take a step back, I try to help with that, keeping gratefulness at the center, if that makes sense, right? Like we talked earlier, at the end of the day, I'm living with my in-laws and who knows when it's going to be, but it's everybody's health, everybody's safe, and this won't last forever, right? So I just try to be that calm where I can, and hopefully I do it better.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Raven. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll see everyone here on Thursday for our next lunchtime conversation. Thanks. See you later.